In this series of the video, we will talk to Associate Professor David Burritt about post-harvest biology, how we can store fruit and vegetables, prolong the shelf life, and importantly, how we can reduce the waste. Let's go.
Well, probably the most important thing is to make sure that we store our bulk fresh fruit under the appropriate conditions, and that's an area of science that people refer to as either post-harvest storage or post-harvest biology. And unfortunately it's an area of science, despite the fact that everybody's interested in sustainability these days, that probably isn't investigated or studied as much as it should be.
So I think reductions of waste, we need to really have an understanding given to the consumer to understand they are still good, healthy, nutritious, even like the appearance is not perfect, that it's still eatable.
I think in terms of sustainability, I think education is incredibly important in two ways. Firstly, we need to educate more young scientists that post-harvest biology is actually a really important career for the future for sustainability, to reduce waste. So you cannot look at ways of extending the storage of fruit and vegetables without understanding their biology. The other thing is really educating consumers that supposedly, in quotations, ugly fruit, remember I think all fruit are beautiful, are actually still in many cases perfectly edible. And there needs to be a distinction made between fruit that just have physical imperfections, whether they be on the outside or even if you cut through some of the fruit, and fruit that are rotten. Physical imperfections do not necessarily mean they are rotten. And again, this comes down to the produce managers in supermarkets and in pack houses as well. They need to be able to ensure that rotten fruit actually never get put out on sale. And that's one way of changing public perception, because if you take an apple home and you cut it in half and you look inside and you see microorganisms growing all over it, let's say fungus, then that's going to put you off purchasing that fruit. And that fruit may have had imperfections on its skin, and therefore you will associate that growth of fungus with the skin imperfections. And that is not always the case. Understanding how to store fruit and vegetables is quite important. Like certain things you just don't throw in a refrigerator in a plastic bag. Hopefully you won't use plastic bags, but use a paper bag, much better. If you think about paper bags, they actually breathe, so they'll let ethylene out. The real take-home message when it comes to fresh produce, which if you do not have the appropriate storage conditions at home is what we refer to as perishable, which means it will go off or it will change over time, is actually just don't buy more than you know your family is going to consume before you go to the supermarket the next time, because there's a high likelihood that it will not be to your taste after a period of storage in your fruit bowl at home, and then you have to go and buy more. Or alternatively, let's say you buy bananas, why not, once they start to turn brown, rather than throw them out, just bake yourself a really nice healthy banana cake. If we go back 50 years or longer, people actually just used to eat produce that was available to them in any particular season. And if you wanted to have, let's say, peaches out of season of fresh peaches, you would preserve them. So you would bottle your peaches. And I remember my grandmother used to bottle peaches when summer fruit was available. And we would have peaches almost all year round. And it's the same with a lot of other produce that is wasted. There are alternative uses for it. And those alternative uses can be found right from the point of harvest. If material at harvest is considered to be not of a standard to be passed on to the pack house, turn it into jam if it's a berry, turn it into juice, turn it into something else. And it's sort of synchronizing all of those different areas in the food and beverage industry, which is sort of really important for sustainability. But ultimately, what we want to be able to do is make fresh fruit and vegetables available for as long as possible.